If you're a regular watcher of this vlog, you'll realise that we've got a different camera angle to start in the van. And that's because my lovely wife is not with me. And that is because we're not going to race a big bike, we're going to race a pit bike in the British mini bikes. Well, I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick up. It's dark, as you can tell. But just got this is my bike, which I'm racing this weekend. Just had to change it. Another lad, Aaron Sadler, normally rides this bike, but he's broke his hand. So maybe I've been drafted in as a sub. But yeah, so changed the plastics over. It's pretty much ready to go. Got some nice new tyres on, which that's good. So, bit of an update, as I'm sure you've seen. There's been no footage, and that's because I forgot to bring the spare batteries for my GoPro. That meant I had to leave it on charge, and then there were only 8 minutes in between being on one bike and then the next. There just wasn't enough time to get the camera on. Looking at the time, I mean in that last race, there's this young lad racing, he's obviously fast in a straight line. He just kept riding around me and then slowing me down, so I didn't get to do my best time. Which is a bit frustrating, but either way, I'm not too arsed. I've qualified third in both classes, I think, so... And I know once in the race, he's going to disappear off in front, most probably, because he's got a big advantage because of his weight. But then, yeah, so I think second's definitely doable, but... Well, third's doable, you know, on the right day, but we'll see what happens, so... All in all, not a bad day. Sunday morning now, and it's been raining.
I'm not too.
So, I mean, I have a slight advantage here in the fact that Roy, pitbikeRacing.co.uk, is also the tyre man. So I have an abundance of tyres to choose from, which is good. I haven't ridden this bike in the wet, and the front suspension is a bit stiff for me. It's a bit oversprung, which is not great in the wet, because obviously you need the weight transfer between the front and rear in order to, you know, get the grip you need, and we haven't got it, so I mean, well, we haven't got any different fork springs or anything like that to try, so I'm just gonna... Now, you might be surprised to hear this, but a lot of people who race in the wet on pit bikes actually use R-slicks. That's this tyre here. As you can see, it's got no water displacing capability, but the R stands for rain, so it is a rain compound tyre. So generally you would use those tyres in the winter when it's, you know, like 0 degrees. They're the only sort of tyre what works. But because they're so soft, they can work in the wet. However, you've sort of got to be on it, you know, in order to keep the temperature in the tyre. Otherwise, then you don't have any grip and you fall off. And also, if it was really wet, you're just not going to displace any water with it. So I think I'll be going with the full wets. And I have got the mount on the bike today. So we should get some footage of the races at least. See what happens there. Got 2 morning warm-ups, like 1 on each. Well, I say 1 on each bike, 1 in each class. They're only 5 minutes long, so bit of a waste of time, but hopefully a chance to try a practice start. looks wet, doesn't it? So as you've hopefully just seen, I went out there in the 160 practice first, then 140 practice. I'm sorry if this isn't a very flattering angle, by the way, but it is wet out there, so going with a full wet was definitely the right choice. Thank you, Met Office, I appreciate it.
A few moments later.
Another third place in that race after you've probably seen two people crashed in front of me. Right. That corner where they come off, I had a couple of warnings early in the race where it was stepping out on me, so I knew I was, you know, pretty close to the limit there, or at least for my bike setup. And then one lap, the guy just in front of me crashed, and then the next lap, the guy who was then in front of me also crashed. So 2 third places, and it also means that they're going to have to start from the back now for race 2, because race 2 you start where you finish race 1. So I've maintained my start position of 3rd for both. We found the tyre that we might need to cut our slick, so obviously you can see what's happening to this one. So maybe we'll end up with that on, don't know, but it's just started to piss it down again. So yeah, wet, dry, wet, dry. Well, wet, damp, wet, damp. Yeah, enjoying it so far. 2 third places, can't whinge.
as you just saw there, that was the second mini bike 140 race, and I absolutely loved it. Got a bit better start, sort of managed to stick with them, and me and Dan, and then unbeknownst to me, it was actually Ben Lord as well behind me. He actually touched me with his tyre there onto the second to last corner, so it was pretty close, but absolutely chuffed to come on with the second in that race. So fingers crossed for more the same. The front wet tyre is starting to give up the ghost now, but I don't feel confident enough in the weather that it's not going to rain anymore, so probably stick with what we've got. Wet front into rear, but yeah, loving it. sure because I'm just getting on the road to get home. But I think I finished second overall in both the 140s and the 160s to Harvey. So, you know, all things considered, it's been a successful weekend. Pretty pleased with it. So yeah, I owe Roy, it's pitbikeRacing.co.uk. I owe a massive thank you. He obviously, you know, didn't scrimp on the tyres and stuff. Not that you use a lot of tyres, but just with it being wet dry, you just, you know, if you got wets in and it's dry and you're just destroying the wets and whatnot. So massive thank you to him for, well, the opportunity really and the experience. You know, you're learning every time you're on a bike. I'm just waffling now. So if you did enjoy the vlog, you know, because you're into your pit biking and stuff, and this is the first time you've seen like me doing vlogs and stuff, I race big bikes as well with no limits, and I've done 2 British Supersport wildcards this year as well, although last one didn't end too good. But you'll be able to see all that and more if you subscribe and then go back and watch all the videos in there. Some of them might be of interest to you, especially if you know, aspire to racing big bikes from mini bikes. But yeah, to the British mini bikes, or the Rich Energy British mini bikes, thanks for having us.